I'm thinking that rust has a harder edge.
Yeah, it's got all sorts. So it depends what technique you use. It'll look like different types of rust, right? And I think the other thing to say here is once you know what these techniques do, then you can go and look at a photograph of something real and say, I know what technique makes it look like that, and then use that technique to make it look like it does in that picture, right? Because you might say, oh, I know what that filter does, and all that Wagons got is it's basically got a brown filter over it, because and it's a bit blacker at the top.
How do you do oil stains or tar stains? How would you do oil or tar stains?
Oh, okay. With enamel wash, I'd let it run down.
Do it either way. I don't really.
Airbrush as well, or airbrush and then pour thinners on it and let that run through. Quite a few different ways, really.
I've got 3 tar tankers I've got to do.
Yeah, okay, well we'll look at that in a minute. We'll do that in a minute. So let's
Tar's
just do...
pretty thick though, isn't it? It's thick
Let's do...
oil.
You could use, or maybe use a black powder on it.
Let's just do an apply and remove with the airbrush. That's what we'll do first. I mean, I know there's a lot to go through in an hour, but what's the time at the moment?
11. 12 past.
12 past what? 11?
Yeah.
Yeah, alright.
Been over an hour now.
Yeah.
When's the next route?
So that's cool.
They're supposed to be through 11:30, I think.
11:30, is it? Okay.
Alright, we'll hear it.
Alright, so here's the answer. So this is an apply and remove, and you could use this for tar as well,
Yeah,
but in a slightly different way, right? So all I'll do is I'll get another way to do rust, is I'll spray some of that on there. Right, now this water-based paint can be thinned down with isopropyl alcohol, but it doesn't like it very much. It goes a bit funny, but that's good because it will go funny and it'll look like rust, more like rust. Okay. You don't always know what it's going to do.
Bit of trial and error.
No, you have to keep trying different things when you're weathering. You don't care what it's going to do. You just keep trying different layers and see what it does. You can't, you don't actually know exactly what it's going to do. You kind of know what it's going to do, but you don't know exactly how much or always it's going to, how it's always going to exactly look. But yeah, it's just that sort of thing that. Oh, but so I mean, if I'm wiping this and it's rust, you know I'm going to go that way, don't you?
Yeah.
Because I want it to look like there are some streaks, and so I've used I guess what you'd call like a thinner that doesn't really suit the paint, but that's because I don't want it to be really even, okay?
Yeah.
So it can make it, sometimes it'll bleach if you put metho or isopropyl alcohol over water-based paint. Sometimes it'll bleach it a bit, right? And I can use a sponge, try that. That's going to look like quite dark rust at the bottom because I'm using that colour there. So what I'm doing now, in a way, I'm mixing those two together, aren't I? But I've used a sponge to put it on while that was wet. So I'm experimenting all the time. I always use one layer over top of another so that I don't get the same effect on every single wagon all the time. And also when you're experimenting, you'll get like interesting effects. Alright, so wipe a bit more of that off. And yeah, starting to get some interesting effects there now.
How come you don't use a spray booth, Darren?
I've got water-based paint. It can't hurt you.
That's okay then. Yeah.
It's dry before you breathe it in. Where we've got to be careful is if we're using enamel, because it's wet and you're breathing in particles of sticky paint into your lungs. But I'm only breathing in dust, really.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whatever.
and it's water basically. And the other reason I can't use the booth is if I use the cabinet, you wouldn't be able to see what I'm doing
Yeah, I assume that was the case as well.
as well.
Pretty well ventilated out here too.
Yeah, it's quite dry.
Have you got a little spray
Outside
booth?
here, so it just constantly blows out.
Yeah.
I'm getting all the squirting.
Yeah, that's right.
If you start to float off the chair, we'll know.
I don't think you can sleep there.
Alan, can you just pass those paints over? Something?
What do you want to do?
Just those 3 paints.
Where are they going?
Alright, so what I'm doing is I've applied and then I'll use the thinners and remove some. So it's not quite dry yet, but I'll stick it there and you know you can pass it around in a moment. But it's only, I've only done it really subtly there, you know what I mean? So yeah, we can't but see that combined with a few other different things over the top will start to look quite interesting. Yeah.
So do you get most of this from Somerset models? Or?
Well yeah, most of it is available there because he's got a good range.
Yeah, he does.
Where do you,
Needs the
you
closest
don't
to
get a
you.
hobby habit of it.
Occasionally, if I'm down that way, I will. The one I go to for my paints is military.
Yeah, military is another good one.
Across the road from
It's just a bit far for me to go, right?
Yeah, it sort of depends where you live. For me, military's closer than Somerset. Yeah, cut lunch and water bank job for me.
How much difference is it between the military place?
Yeah.
Your hobby habit like 10% there and the military place 20% there?
The outlaw paints I get, they come in at about $1.20 a bottle cheaper.
I'm sorry about the Tamil.
Yeah, hobby habits is full retail. Sure that you can get better.
Okay, so we're going to see what happens with this chipping now.
So this is how you remove it afterwards.
Yeah, just put some water on there.
Okay. Just using a brush.
Yeah. And depending on how extreme you want it to be, you could use a stiff brush,
Yeah.
or I could use a softer brush, like that one that I use for it's a short one. It's a little bit.
Use anything
And
other
how long does it take, don't you start taking effect?
30 seconds.
Okay.
use anything other than brushes like sponges and
See, now it's starting to dissolve really quite strongly because it hasn't been on there for very long.
And that's the hairspray on that one, is it?
Yeah, the hairspray, and this is probably the thick side, Brian,
And now you're putting on that
Water.
Just water?
and now it's dissolving the hairspray and it's falling. So, alright, so now I've got to stop because it's still not,
It's still not dry enough yet.
well, I probably need to either put some more paint on,
Mm-hmm.
or it depends whether you want a really fine effect or whether you want quite a significant effect, but But this is quite good because as I'm going, I can get the paint to come off in different places on the white stripe here, for example. Yeah, it's falling off of that one.
Could you pass that wagon over, please? The one that was just done.
Oh, right, yeah.
Just pass that over, please.
Now what I'm going to do on this one is I'm going to get the brush on its side and try and get it to mainly get a bit of paint off the raised areas here. You know what I mean? Where it's going to wear off.
you'd almost say that was light weather. It goes like that almost. Within a few days of coming.
Yeah, that's kind of rusty and the water's gone into it.
And then the water and it's run down, isn't
Yeah,
it?
that's good, I like that.
Yeah.
In fact,
Probably would have been, I would straight that one's well, a bit dark for me there, but the sides.
So as you'll see now, see how it's starting to come off?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I'll just leave that over there for a little bit. But that's what you do. You've got to muck around with that sort of idea. So what we'll go through now is, okay, we've got to do washes now.
Three lines on the side, that's when the containers are just white. Axle grease or something coming up off the train. That ends up in a nice.
What's a good way to do paving?
Paving. What the embossed paving?
Yeah.
Spray it with actually that grey's a good one.
Yeah, the one I've
And
got,
then I put powder in over top afterwards. and
station
that
I'm
goes
building,
in the-
it's all sandstone paving,
Sandstone.
but it needs to, it hasn't got enough grime on it at the moment.
Right. Well,
Can you do like a grey wash over it?
yeah, I would. I'd paint some a slightly different shade. I'd get the palette out and I'd get the main colour and then I'd have a bit of white, bit of black, or a bit of a darker brown, and then I'd make up different variations and I'd do some of them of different shade. And then I'd put powder over top and let it go in all the cracks,
Okay.
the weathering powder, and that'll sit in the cracks. And when you've got it how you want, it's just spray it with matte varnish out of the spray can.
Okay.
If you're not happy with it, just keep going. That's what weathering's all about. Yeah, actually, that's
It's all done in the sandstone colour now,
yeah, righto.
but it just looks too.
Now, what's the time?
Sandstone's
Richard,
got
what's the
variations
time?
in the colour of it
Yeah, I
as
know.
well, hasn't it?
Richard, what's the time? mate?
11:22.
All right, so this is a really important thing that I must show you now before we go further and further with anything else. Because what I've got to do now is I've got to put a pin wash on, right? So it's enamel.
A pin and wash?
Yeah, that's what it's called. I'm putting an enamel wash on, right? This is an enamel wash, so it's already thinned down enamel.
What brand's that, Darren?
AK Interactive is the
Okay.
brand. Okay, so see how that this is a brilliant colour. I mean, it can look a little bit like old rust. See that stuff there? But it also looks like soot and grime because it's a kind of a black brown. So what you do is you just touch it, and it'll go in the grooves, right?
Capillary action, Peter.
Yeah.
In the grooves.
All right. So now, if you want to go over a wider area and you don't want it to be as dark, thin it out, and then you can it'll just run.
It's the opposite of dry brushing.
Yeah.
Dry brushing,
Yeah,
you're touching the
so.
tops, and that's sort of running into the.
So if you had like a black loco, for example, and you wanted to put a pin wash on it, you wouldn't be using black though, would you be using something light?
No,
like
but then
like a
this
dark grey
is
something?
exactly what I'm going to show you right now.
Yeah, okay.
This is what I did here, right? Right, I'll put the brown wash over it now, and now it's going to look like rust. Right, you've got to pass that around now. If I use more rust wash, it'll look more like rust. It'll look more like rust, you know what I'm getting at?
Can I just have a look at the bottle of that?
Yeah.
I hate wearing them. The vision's fine, so look at the stuff.
Pass this one around.
It's not a problem for me. If I don't put them on, I can't see anything. Just finishing.
Unlike that.
People doing stuff.
I know. Very good.
Oh, I see. That's good. Oh, I've got a thick jacket in the car.
Now guys, it's still wet, so, you know, just keep that in mind. Just have a look at that side. I'm just trying to show you what a wash is. You can see it on the corner of that wagon, just where it was lighter before. And then
So you could use something like that to run it into the grooves in that pavement, couldn't you?
that's it. Yeah, you could.
It's wet.
But you'll need to seal it off with the clear that the paint doesn't soak into first.
Wow.
Probably and the same with brickwork, right?
Yeah.
So,
Still damp.
yeah, but it's just a way of using enamel because it flows really well and it goes into all. See, Brian, how it's gone around the rivets? It's just, you know, sitting around the edge of them,
Yeah.
and it's. And see, if I didn't go a bit lighter first, you wouldn't see it. You know, it's not. I could probably go through with something a bit more of a rust, but. Let's have a look here, see what's there.
So a pin wash is mainly to bring out those recessed areas, though, isn't it?
That's right.
Yeah.
Or it brings out all the detail you know, in the, let's just say the planks on a plank wagon. So, I mean, I don't know if this is light enough for us to do it, but let's just put it on here. And I put it on the chassis after I've painted it lighter, because this has got a sort of a slightly light. So I'm going to put it all over the chassis of this wagon. And what it'll do is it'll go into all the grooves and then it'll show up the detail even more. Alright, just hold it on each end now.
So does that have to be
Enamel, yeah. Because enamel flies a lot better. And if you
It takes
use
a little longer to dry too. doesn't it?
if you use this normal paint, it'll just sit there. Look, you could use the water-based paint, but you'd have to spray it with water first, and you'd get a wash over the whole thing.
Alright.
But you won't get it in the grooves because it's not. It doesn't flow well enough to flow into the grooves.
Yeah.
Darren, what's that brush is? The right angle thing.
Hey, that's just a normal brush that's just been bent because it's easy.
I want to have a look at it. I'm
It's just easy
thinking
to
that
use.
looks easy with that. I'm thinking, okay. Brilliant, isn't it? I've never seen that done before.
That's just easy.
Well,
Yeah,
if you're around, Phil, you hold the brush, and you can
bends-
see
he
where
bends
it's
his-
normally there, your fingers are probably in the
Yeah,
way.
with mine,
You need to
I'd
come
snap
see
it.
him for the brush bending method.
Now, Richard, what stuff have you stolen?
Iron oxide.
It's on.
That's black.
Yeah.
Now, where's that trench wash powder?
In Alan's pocket.
Or what can we use? We can use dark earth. Will be a good start. Because, like I said, rust has got a brown, or when it's lighter, it's orangey brown. It's not like a reddy brown. And also, if I try to use reddy brown on this reddy brown, you're not going to see it, are you? So, all right, let's just look at this. It's not going to stick to it, is it? Right.
Yeah.
Very stiff brush.
But if I can get some of this on there, I want to, you know, and get that in there. Now it will. I'm just going to make a mess of this because what I'm basically just going to do is just wipe on, wipe off type of thing. But it won't look any good until it dries. You know, it's not. It'll only look good when it dries. So, you know, it'll dry matte. But yeah. So powder's really good. This is what I'm using it for now. It's you can use pigment powder as a paint. Where it's good is if you need. I'm actually making a wash now out of this pigment. So I'll tell you what the pigment's really good for. Putting it on with a brush, you know, onto a matte surface when it's dry, because you can weather it, and if you don't like it, you can wash it off. But it's also good in this way. You can make your own paint by mixing it with, you know, white spirit or something like that, and it covers amazing. It just covers better than anything will because it's just great pigment. Now, when that dries, basically that's another apply and remove job, right? But I've used, you know, enamel and powder. When that dries, that'll be absolutely, totally matte, flat, like dust, you know.
Okay.
It'll look good when it's dry. I mean, that didn't take long.
No.
But I mean, that's another thing you could do. And then you could go over top of that and put a pin wash over top of that after.
Well, that appeals to me for chassis and stuff.
Yeah, it's really good. Good thing to use. So, you know, I've just about got through the list. And it's not easy to do in it now. So, I'll see you guys for this first group for lunch. It's great to see you. And thanks for the
Thanks,
questions.
mate. That was good.
And send me an email if you know, think of something you know, be reminded of, or you're more than welcome.